Pale looks better on camera, Leo. We need tears tonight. Not hydration. That was the first thing I heard my stepsister say as she snatched the water bottle away from her 8-year-old son. He was shaking in his oversized tuxedo, licking his cracked lips, but Bianca did not care. She was too busy checking her lipstick in the vanity mirror, making sure she looked like the perfect grieving mother. I froze in the doorway, my hands gripping a heavy tray of champagne. I wanted to rush forward and give him a drink, but Bianca saw me in the reflection. She did not look ashamed. She just spun around, blocked my path to the wheelchair, and whispered the coldest thing I have ever heard. "Do not look at him like that, Morgan," she hissed, smoothing her silk dress. "A cured child is a bad investment. We are building a legacy here. Stop trying to ruin it with your sentimentality." Then, she shoved his wheelchair toward the stage lights, leaving me standing in the dark with a tray full of expensive wine and a stomach full of ice. I did not scream. I did not throw the champagne tray at her head. Instead, I did what I have been trained to do for the last 15 years. I disappeared. I stepped back into the shadows of the velvet curtain, adjusting my black apron until I was just another piece of furniture. To the 200 wealthy donors filing into the ballroom, I was nobody. I was just staff, a pair of hands offering crab cakes and sparkling water. They had no idea that the woman on the stage, the saintly Bianca in her $10,000 gown, was my stepsister. They did not know that we used to share a bunk bed. They did not know that when our parents died in that car crash, I was the one who held her hand at the funeral. But Bianca has a talent for editing reality. Over the years, she slowly cropped me out of the family pictures, then out of the business, and finally, out of her life. She told people I was troubled and estranged. It was easier than admitting she had drained my inheritance to start her foundation. I watched her now, working the room like a politician. She laughed at a senator's joke, touching his arm lightly, her diamond bracelet catching the light. That bracelet cost more than my entire year's rent in Queens. You have to understand the math of this injustice. It was not just that she was rich and I was scraping by. It was where the money came from. Leo's Light Foundation was supposed to be a nonprofit dedicated to curing pediatric degenerative diseases. Specifically, the rare genetic disorder that was slowly turning my nephew's muscles into stone. Last month, during the winter drive, the foundation raised exactly $1,800,000. I saw the giant novelty check. I saw the confetti cannons. I saw Bianca crying on the local news, thanking the community for their miraculous generosity. But 3 days ago, I found the letter from the specialist in Switzerland. Dr. Aris had a slot open for Leo. It was an experimental gene therapy with an 80% success rate. All they needed was a $50,000 deposit to secure the hospital room. $50,000. That is less than 3% of what Bianca raised in a single night. Yet, on the bottom of the letter, in red ink, was a stamp. Application cancelled due to payment declined. When I asked her about it, she sighed and gave me that pitying look she saves for the cameras. She told me I did not understand liquidity. She claimed the money was tied up in awareness assets, and that we could not just write checks because of overhead. Overhead. I looked around the ballroom. I saw the overhead. It was the $4 million penthouse in Tribeca she bought as a headquarters. It was the first-class flights to conferences in the Maldives. It was the salary she paid herself as CEO, which happened to be 3 times the national average for a nonprofit director. I stood there, gripping my serving tray until my knuckles turned white. For years, I told myself she was just bad with money. I told myself she was overwhelmed, grieving, trying her best. I made excuses for her because she was the only family I had left. But as I watched her shove Leo's wheelchair into the corner so she could take a selfie with a donor, the excuse died in my throat. She was not overwhelmed. She was calculating. I thought I was just watching a bad mother. I did not realize I was watching a predator feeding on her own child. And I definitely did not know that in about 20 minutes, a single notification on a cell phone was going to hand me the weapon I needed to destroy her. The applause outside swelled again, vibrating through the floorboards. A moment later, Bianca swept through the curtains, her face flushed with the high that only a standing ovation can give you. She looked radiant, energized, and completely monstrous. She commanded me to get the silver gown, not even looking my way. She began stripping off her diamond earrings, tossing them onto the vanity table like they were candy wrappers. She complained that I smelled like a deep fryer and claimed it was distracting the donors. I did not smell like a deep fryer. I smelled like exhaustion and 12 hours of unpaid labor. But I said nothing. I unzipped her dress, my fingers brushing against skin that had been pampered with treatments I could not pronounce, let alone afford. She asked if I had seen Senator Davis crying. She bragged that she told him about Leo's bad nights and predicted he would write a check for $50,000 tonight. My heart hammered. 50,000. That was the exact number. That was the deposit for Switzerland. I kept my voice quiet but steady. I told her that if he writes that check, We could book Dr. Eris tomorrow. I offered to call them first thing in the morning. She froze. The smile vanished, replaced by a look of genuine annoyance. She snapped at me to stop obsessing over Switzerland. She listed off administrative debts and gala costs, insisting that you do not spend $50,000 on a gamble. I argued that it was not a gamble. It was his life. She snapped that it was complicated and ordered me to go check on the catering because I was hovering. She grabbed her clutch, checked her hair one last time, and breezed back out toward the stage, eager for her second act. But in her rush to soak up more adoration, she made the only mistake a liar cannot afford to make. She left her personal phone plugged into the wall charger. I was turning to leave when the screen lit up. It hummed against the marble vanity, a single bright rectangle in the dim room. I should not have looked. I was raised to respect privacy, even the privacy of people who hurt me. But my gut was screaming at me. I took one step, then another. I looked down at the lock screen. Amex Platinum. Transaction approved. $15,400. Merchant. Serenity Spa and Resort. Maldives. Date. Today. The world stopped. The noise of the gala faded into a dull buzz. $15,000. She had just spent a third of Leo's surgery deposit on a luxury vacation package. And she had done it today. While she was telling me we were broke, while she was telling Leo he could not have water, that was the moment the sadness finally left my body. For years, I had analyzed Bianca's behavior, trying to diagnose her. Was she overwhelmed? Was she just greedy? No. It was darker than that. I looked at the phone, and then at the curtain where she had just disappeared. I finally understood the architecture of her soul. Bianca did not just want the money. She was addicted to the tragedy. If Leo gets cured, the story ends. A healthy child plays soccer and goes to school. A healthy child does not get you on the cover of magazines. A healthy child does not make senators cry and call you a warrior mother. She needed him sick. His pain was her currency. His wheelchair was her throne. She was a vampire, but she did not drink blood. She drank sympathy, and she was willing to let her own son wither away because his slow death was the only thing making her feel important. I felt a coldness settle in my chest, heavy and solid like a stone. I stopped trembling. I stopped hoping she would change. I reached for my apron pocket. I did not have power, or money, or a senator's ear. But I had the passcode to that phone. It was Leo's birthday. 0812. I was not the invisible help anymore. I was the witness. And I had 5 minutes to burn her legacy to the ground. I did not have to wait long for an opportunity. In fact, Bianca handed it to me. 5 minutes before her keynote speech, she came storming back from the stage wings, looking frantic. She was clutching a heavy, crystal-encrusted designer bag that looked like it weighed 5 pounds. She stopped in front of me, looked at her reflection in the hallway mirror, and grimaced. She muttered to herself that it was too bulky and ruined the silhouette of the gown. She shoved the bag into my chest hard enough to knock the wind out of me. She commanded me to hold it, and warned me not to put it on the floor because the crystals would scratch. She added a threat. If her screen cracked, she would take it out of my paycheck. Before I could speak, she snapped at me to just stand there and look invisible, saying she would send her assistant to get it after the speech. And just like that, she was gone. I was left standing alone in the service hallway, holding the bag that contained the only thing Bianca loved more than herself, her iPad Pro. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I knew the hallway cameras were watching. I knew if I was caught snooping, she would fire me. She might even sue me. But then I thought about Leo's cracked lips. I thought about the $15,000 spa trip. I unclasped the bag. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I pulled out the tablet. It stared up at me, locked. I did not panic. I knew Bianca. She is a narcissist, and narcissists are predictable. They use passwords that remind them of their own creations. Leo was not her son. He was her creation. I typed in his birthday. 0812. The lock icon snapped open. I did not waste time looking through her emails. She is too smart to leave a paper trail in her inbox. I went straight to the place where guilty people hide their secrets. The recently deleted folder in the Photos app. I scrolled past the edited selfies and the pictures of flower arrangements. And then, I stopped. There it was. A screenshot taken 3 days ago. It was the email from the Swiss hospital, explicitly stating, payment declined due to insufficient funds. But right next to it, timestamped only 2 hours later, was another photo. It was a selfie of Bianca in a boutique, holding a burnt orange Hermes Birkin bag. The caption she had drafted but not posted read, treating myself. Self-care is a discipline. She had screenshotted the rejection of her son's life-saving surgery and then immediately went shopping for a bag that cost more than my car. I felt bile rise in my throat, but I kept digging. I opened the voice memos app. There was a file recorded yesterday named PR Strategy Notes. I pressed play, holding the speaker up to my ear. Bianca's voice, crisp and annoyed, cut through the silence. She said we needed to pivot the narrative for the fall gala. She said if he gets better, the money stops. She said people do not donate to a recovery, they donate to a tragedy. She explicitly said to keep him in the chair and cancel the physical therapy sessions. My blood turned to ice. It was not just neglect. It was orchestrated torture. I heard the click of heels coming around the corner. It was her assistant. I did not think. I hit share. I tapped AirDrop. I selected Morgan's iPhone. The little blue circle spun. Sending. Sending. The heels got louder. Sent. I shoved the iPad back into the crystal bag and clasped it shut just as the assistant, a young girl named Sarah, rounded the corner. She asked for the bag breathlessly, saying Bianca wanted her lip gloss. I handed her the bag. My voice was terrifyingly calm as I told her I was just guarding it. She took the evidence away, running back toward the stage. She did not know that she was carrying an empty gun. I had the bullets now, and I was about to walk into the audiovisual booth and pull the trigger. I did not run to the police station. I did not call a lawyer. The police take hours to file a report, and lawyers take months to build a case. I did not have months. I had about 3 minutes before Bianca scammed 200 people out of nearly $2 million. I ran straight to the back of the ballroom, toward the heavy black door labeled audio-visual. I paused for 1 second to mess up my hair and pull the panic face I used to wear when Bianca yelled at me. I needed to look terrified. I needed to look like a stressed-out assistant trying to save her boss from a disaster. I burst through the door. The AV technician was a guy named Dave, wearing a headset and scrolling on his phone. He jumped when I slammed the door behind me. I gasped, clutching my chest, and told him to stop. I lied and said not to cue the video because Bianca was screaming backstage. Dave looked confused and said the tribute video was up next on the run sheet. I pitched my voice up into hysteria. I told him it was the wrong file. I lied that she just realized the music track has a copyright watermark on it. I told him, she says if you play it, the stream gets taken down and she is suing your company for negligence. I emphasized that she was furious and talking about lawsuits. The color drained from Dave's face. In the event industry, the word lawsuit is more terrifying than a fire alarm. He looked at the console, then back at me, stammering that he just played what they gave him. I fished the USB drive out of my apron pocket. I had transferred the evidence onto it 30 seconds ago. I told him she sent me with the clean master and that we had to swap it immediately. I held out the drive. My hand was shaking, which actually helped sell the lie. Dave did not check the file size. He did not ask for ID. He just wanted to not get sued. He ejected the original drive and jammed mine into the port. He asked if it was queued, wiping sweat from his forehead. I told him yes, and that he had saved us. I slipped out of the booth and walked back into the ballroom just as the lights dimmed. On stage, a single spotlight hit Bianca. She looked angelic. She gripped the microphone with both hands, her voice trembling with practiced emotion. She whispered to the crowd that being a mother is hard, but being Leo's mother is the greatest honor of her life. She claimed they had tried everything, and the doctors said there was no hope. She asked them to help her make his final months comfortable. I stood in the darkness, watching the donors reach for their checkbooks. You might wonder why I chose to do this here. Why make a scene? Why not just handle this privately? Here is the truth about justice. The legal system is slow, but the court of public opinion is instant. If I called the police, Bianca would have posted bail in an hour. She would have hired a PR team to spin the story. She would have kept the money. I did not need a judge. I needed a witness. I needed these people to see exactly who they were giving their money to. I did not want to just arrest her. I needed to bankrupt her reputation. Bianca pointed to the massive LED screen behind her and asked the audience to watch his struggle. Dave, the terrified tech guy, pressed play. Bianca smiled through her tears, waiting for the sad piano music to start. It did not. Instead, a sharp, digital hiss crackled through the speakers, followed by a voice that was unmistakable. It was not sad. It was annoyed. If he gets better, the money stops. Bianca's head snapped up. On the giant screen, there was no montage of Leo suffering. There was a screen recording of an iPad. Specifically, the recently deleted folder. The room went dead silent. You could hear the ice melting in the glasses. On the screen, 2 images appeared side by side. On the left, the email from Dr. Eris, stating surgery denied due to insufficient funds. On the right, a selfie of Bianca, posing in a boutique mirror with a burnt orange Hermes Birkin bag. Captioned, treating myself. A collective gasp swept through the room like a sudden draft. Then, the audio played again, louder this time, booming off the ballroom walls. The recording played her voice saying, "People do not donate to a recovery. They donate to a tragedy." It played her command to keep him in the chair. Bianca froze. She looked small against the massive image of her own greed. She waved frantically at the AV booth, mouthing to cut it. But Dave, the tech guy, was standing with his arms crossed, watching the screen like everyone else. I stepped out of the shadows. I did not need to shout. The room was so quiet that my heels clicking on the hardwood floor sounded like gunshots. I walked up the stairs, took the microphone from Bianca's limp hand, and turned to the stunned crowd. I told them this is fraud. My voice was steady and cold. I announced that the surgery costs $50,000, but she raised $1,800,000 and spent it on herself. I looked directly at Senator Davis in the front row. I commanded them to call their banks right now. I told them to say they have been scammed, issue a chargeback, and freeze her out. For a second, nobody moved. Then, the sound began. It started with one beep, then another. The sound of 200 wealthy people pulling out their phones and dialing their private bankers. Bianca shrieked, lunging for me, screaming that it was a mistake and out of context. But she did not get to finish. The double doors at the back of the room burst open. I had not called the police for fraud. I had called them for child endangerment. The evidence on the iPad proved she was intentionally withholding medical care from a minor to profit financially. That is a felony that does not require a warrant. It requires handcuffs. 2 officers marched onto the stage. As they grabbed Bianca's arms, she did not ask about her son. She did not ask about her reputation. She screamed about her assets, thrashing as they dragged her away. She yelled that they could not freeze the accounts because it was her money. I did not watch her leave. I walked over to the corner of the stage where Leo was sitting in his wheelchair, his eyes wide. I unlocked the brakes. I asked him if he was ready to go. He looked at the empty stage where his mother had just been, then up at me. He whispered, asking if he could have some water now. I told him yes, pushing him toward the exit. I told him he could have all the water he wants. The trial lasted only 3 weeks, but the verdict will last a lifetime. I sat in the back of the courtroom, holding Leo's hand, as the judge read the sentence. Bianca stood there in a gray jumpsuit, her hair unwashed, stripped of her designer armor. She did not look like a CEO or a saint anymore. She just looked like a thief. The judge sentenced her to 10 years in federal prison for wire fraud and aggravated child endangerment. She is not eligible for parole until she serves at least 8 years. The court also ordered full restitution. Every single penny of the $1,800,000 she raised had to be returned to the donors. The penthouse in Tribeca? Seized by the state. The Hermes bags? Auctioned off by the marshals. The Leo's Light Foundation was dissolved, and its assets were transferred to a legitimate pediatric research fund. But the real punishment was not the prison cell. It was the silence. The same socialites who used to fight for a selfie with Bianca scrubbed her from their social media feeds. The senator who cried at her speech released a statement condemning her monstrous deception. She did not just lose her freedom, she lost her audience. And for a narcissist like Bianca, being ignored is a fate worse than death. 6 months later, on a Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. It was a collect call from the correctional facility in Danbury. I accepted it. I needed to hear it one last time. Bianca's voice crackled over the line. She sounded small. She told me she hoped I was happy because I destroyed our family and took her son. She claimed she did everything for us and was building a future. She was still doing it. Even behind bars, she was rewriting reality, trying to cast herself as the martyr and me as the villain. She was not calling to apologize. She was calling to see if she could still manipulate me. She wanted to hear me get angry. She wanted to hear me cry. I did not give her the satisfaction. I said goodbye to Bianca. My voice was flat and indifferent. I hung up the phone. Then, I blocked the number. I did not feel guilty. I felt light. I walked out to the backyard of my new place, a modest rental in the suburbs, far away from the gala lights. It is not a penthouse, but it has something Bianca's house never had. It has peace. Leo was there, kicking a soccer ball against the fence. He is not completely cured. Life is not a fairy tale. He still has bad days. He still needs therapy. But he is walking. He is drinking water whenever he wants. And most importantly, he knows he is loved for who he is, not for how sad his story makes people feel. I watched him run, his laughter ringing out in the clear afternoon air. That sound is worth more than every check Bianca ever cashed. We have a new family now. Not one bound by blood, but by choice. Dr. Aris calls to check on us every Sunday. Dave, the AV guy from the gala, actually hired me to manage catering for his company's events. We surround ourselves with people who tell the truth, even when it is uncomfortable. And that brings me to you. If you are watching this, and you felt a knot in your stomach because Bianca reminded you of someone in your own life, listen to me closely. We live in a world that loves to celebrate saints. We applaud the people who cry the loudest on social media. But you need to learn to spot the martyr mask. Here are the 3 rules I learned the hard way. Rule number 1. The waiter rule. Watch how they treat the people who can do nothing for them. Bianca treated the donors like gods, and the staff like garbage. True kindness is not selective. If they are cruel to the waiter, they are cruel people. Period. Rule number 2. Crisis currency. Be careful of people who are always in the middle of a tragedy. If someone needs a crisis to feel important, they will eventually manufacture one. And if they run out of their own tragedies, they will start using yours. Rule number 3. The speed of truth. Justice is not something you wait for. It is something you force. I waited years to speak up because I was afraid of ruining the family image. But silence is not loyalty. Silence is complicity. You are the CEO of your own life. You have the right to audit the people around you. And if you find that someone is profiting from your pain, or draining your spirit to feed their ego, you have the right to cut them off. It does not matter if they are your sister, your father, or your oldest friend. Blood makes you related. Loyalty makes you family. Trust is earned, not owed. I am Morgan. I am a caterer. I am a guardian. And for the first time in my life, I am free. Thank you for listening to my story.